You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this episode of KCSN Update, our daily Chief show and podcast here at KC Sports Network. Appreciate you hanging out, spending part of your day with us. I'm BJ Kissel, going to be joined because it's Tuesday by the Prince of Chiefs content, somebody who was there in Phoenix covering the team inside and out, Mr. Nate Taylor from The Athletic. And we want to thank DraftKings for being the presenting sponsor of KCSN Update. So if you're the betting type, make sure to go over, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and have a ball. Have a lot of fun. NFL betting, I don't know how everybody else fared, but was a lot of fun. We appreciate DraftKings support. Well, let's just get right to it. Let's just bring on Nate and talk a little Chiefs, Eagles, little Super Bowl. Nate, are you ready to talk about this game some more? Because I don't know how much you've slept over the last few days. Do you feel prepared over the next 40 minutes to continue chatting Chiefs Eagles?
No, I'm great. Hello everyone. I did not sleep on, I guess, Sunday night, Monday morning, but I did get to sleep last night. So I feel I feel quite tickled to talk about a game that was, I guess, in some ways weird to some degree, but also a memorable Super Bowl. You know, that's one of those things that, you know, now that we've had 57 of them, you want to be in that other half, that top half, where like it was a good game, it was memorable, there were highlights that you can like point back to. So, no, man, it was great to be there. We had about 9 people at The Athletic, in addition to my buddy Robert Mays and Nate Tice, who do our National Athletic Football Show podcast. So we had the whole crew there. That, as I was telling you, kind of off, you know, before we recorded, like when your team wins the Super Bowl, you basically become the point guard for everybody. Right. So everybody talks after the game, and so I'm trying to point Rustin Dodd in his direction and Mike Sando here, and you know, what does Dan Huthman, our editor, what does he want? You know, there will be an entire week of promotion, ladies and gentlemen. The Athletic is putting together a collection of the season, and obviously stuff that we're going to have in this book called Kingdom's Dynasty. So I get to work on that. I get to go to the parade tomorrow. When does the off season start, BJ? Because I don't feel like it's starting anytime soon, which I'm sure is a thrill for Chiefs fans.
Yeah, our draft content starts this week, Nate. We're not even going to let it get past President's Day before we just start putting out all the content. We were in Vegas getting all these interviews. We got to start putting this content out.
Yeah, you're in a little different, spot than we are. So hopefully everybody appreciates the yin yang that we bring to this coverage of this team. But yeah,
of course.
I looked at my calendar. It was like, so you mean to tell me I got to fly to my second home, Indianapolis, in 10 days? Yep. You got to do that. And I'll be honest, y'all, I'm going to be cramming for this test because when your team goes to the Super Bowl, you don't really have time to like obviously spend with prospects. So I will definitely be obviously checking out your guys' videos, some of the content I've seen already. And yeah, I'll probably be asking you your honest opinion about said, prospects in 2 weeks' time. But what a Super Bowl. And I guess, like I said last week, I can't doubt this man,
Yeah.
I would feel like a fool if I did, and so I'm happy that I'm at least intelligent enough, not to feel like I made the wrong sort of projection for this game.
Yeah, you did nail it in that you're not going to doubt that guy anymore, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays across the NFL. No. Although I've already seen, we joke about it, and I did not think it was serious, but there was a way too early 2023 projection, and somebody picked the Chargers.
The Chargers?
ConnorOrtner.com. He knows the bread and butter. He knows how to get engagement. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think they're just bopping him on Twitter, and he's just soaking in all the engagement. And NFL.com for gathering all that
what a time.
Traction. So let's get into it. Let's get into the 5 burning questions we've got every week, and this is my favorite one when we have big games like this, because you bring an insight that only a handful of people understand. Somebody who's covering the team, who's in that locker room. What was your favorite post-game moment? Covering the Super Bowl and going to the locker room, guys are celebrating. We've all seen the cell phone videos of guys running around doing stuff. It's a fun environment. But what stood out to you the most?
It was, in my opinion, my thoughts, it was the last post-game hug between Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes. That was one that sort of jumped out to me and sort of made me feel, obviously you're a human being, you're trying to bring context and perspective, and again, you might read this later in The Athletic at some point, but as it stands right now, I think it's more likely that Eric Bieniemy is coaching elsewhere next season than with the Chiefs. And I'm pretty sure both men knew that. Now, obviously, Eric Bieniemy faced a lot of scrutiny last year for how the AFC Championship game went alongside Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But, yeah, just a way that still in uniform for Patrick, because obviously he's done the post-game sort of comments on the field with Fox, and he does ESPN, and he does NFL Network, and then he gets to the locker room and he finally sees Bieniemy. So, like you said, there's video out of it. Bieniemy obviously found a way to get Patrick alongside Andy, alongside Matt Nagy, to get Patrick to reach, another level, which is really hard to do because he's already the best quarterback in the league. And they asked him in a number of ways to get better, and he did. And I know people probably know the story now about Bieniemy, his involvement in sort of telling the guys, like, we're going to build this game plan up for this specific moment, probably to come in the second half. And it got them 2 just butt naked, wide open touchdowns from film study, and obviously how they wanted to, adjust it to their own sort of scheme, and how it broke the rules from the Philadelphia Eagles secondary in terms of their tendencies. So yeah, I mean, they've won 2 championships together. And this is a reminder that one of the reasons why this is a sweet thing for fans, and especially for guys on the team, is, one of the things Bieniemy told Frank Clark, or I guess what Frank Clark told me afterwards, was that, Andy gave Bieniemy quite a bit of time on Saturday, the final team meeting before the last game of the season, Bieniemy expressing to the guys that, hey, for some of us in the room, this will be our last time at this particular game, at this particular stage. Bieniemy explaining that, like, hey, I was with the Chargers in 1994. And it took me 2019 to get back. And so for, him finding a way to make it relatable to everybody on the team, whether you've been with the team in 19, whether you're obviously one of these newcomers who are veterans like Jerick McKinnon or, Justin Reed or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and obviously for all the rookies who just have no concept of, like, what is normal NFL rookie seasons. So, Bieniemy found a way to relate it to everybody. And Frank said that obviously stayed with them because I think a lot of the guys that are core on the team realize that this team is not going to be the same next year, but yet they all had a level of teamwork that I think is truly commendable, and I think I hope is not lost on fans. What you see on the field is obviously exceptional athleticism and quick thinking at the highest degree, but their teamwork, the way they were able to connect with one another, probably from about training camp and especially at the midway point of the season, through all the adversity that sort of Travis Kelce talked to me about, after the game, like that was a moment that stood out to me. Now, did Orlando Brown scream at me in the most loving manner? I guess I have to look up what his measurements are again. But then, of course, I put yes, a very large human being that bet on himself. And then gave honestly the quote of the game, which was 0 sacks. Go tell him to put that on a fucking t-shirt. And I was like, yeah, I can get that quote out sooner rather than later. And then I think he beat me to it on Twitter by like a few minutes. So, but those were the moments that sort of jumped out. But yeah, the way Patrick loves Bieniemy and the way Bieniemy sort of explained that how he pushed Patrick to be better, to be an even better leader, and now you see it through the course of the season.
We saw that on the broadcast a little bit. The embrace that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy had when they were walking out right after the game, it struck me as different, and that it's one thing to celebrate, but it was in 3 months we're going to be like, yeah, they knew then, and it hasn't happened yet, so you can't confirm it. But it was one of those, like, they just celebrated like this is the last time that they're going to coach together, not just that they won a Super Bowl in there. So it just felt different when you saw it. But I love what you said about training camp going all the way back, because in mentioning Frank, I mean, we were at training camp. We got the videos of Frank working with George Karlaftis after practice every day, working with those guys. And it just, again, it felt different. And that's the kind of buy-in. You talk about championship pedigree, all those things that sometimes it's kind of hard to put a finger on exactly what it looks like until it happens. And you saw it in the second half where they overcame everything. They overcame mistakes. There were stretches during that game. Now that you look back, that we were like, why is Derek Nottie jumping off sides? Why is Frank jumping off sides? Like, these are going to kill us. They missed field goal, all of these things. They overcame all of that and absolutely dominated the second half. So let's move into the second question I've got for you, Nate. And I want you to give me an offensive MVP from this game, not named Patrick Mahomes. Okay. And then same thing on the defensive side, a defensive MVP for the Chiefs from this Super Bowl victory.
The defensive MVP is Nick Bolton. I think that's a pretty easy one. You can make an argument that he scored 2 touchdowns in the game, even though it's only one. By the way, if that play happens in the 1990s, I think that's a touchdown. Because it's a bang-bang play, but did the guy catch it? Yes, he did. Now, with today's technology, with the way the rules are set up, you can obviously go back and look at these things. I thought the officiating crew did the right thing of just letting the play out. That way, it already initiates the review. But look, Bolton was everywhere, and I think kind of to what to add to what you just said, BJ, which was an excellent observation, is like, Derek Nottie's offsides, Frank Clark is offsides, or obviously having penalties. There were missed tackles on all 3 levels, whether it's cornerbacks, whether it's linebackers, whether it's obviously guys at the defensive line who maybe had a chance to, stop a player near or behind the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden, oh my, they got 4 yards out of that. That changes the calculus, especially when you know how good the Eagles are in short yardage situations. But man, in the second half, it was like somebody, I don't want to say like lit a fire under Nick Bolton, because I think he was playing fairly well in the first half. And I hope people get this reference, but it was almost like he went to like Super Saiyan mode. I don't know if you can see the stress that the Eagles put on linebackers, which is where they've had a lot of success, obviously, in their running game. And Nick Bolton had pretty much an answer for everything the Eagles presented at him. He got caught one time on like this little counter quarterback run where he already knows where Jason Kelce's gonna basically pull, and so he goes that way, and then Jalen sort of works off of that. That's the 4th and 5 that I believe he gets more than 20 yards on. So Bolton sort of understands that and is like, I'm not gonna get beat on that again. I believe he led the team in tackles. Is that correct, BJ?
He had 9 tackles.
Led the team in tackles, obviously made the most game-altering play in the first half, which is obviously the scoop and score. I know he doesn't get rewarded for a forced fumble, but his presence basically forced the fumble because Jalen sped up his timing in terms of switching from one hand to the other with the ball. There's a moment in the second half, and I'm sure you guys have this on video, where Bolton makes a tackle, looks at Nick Sirianni right in the eyes, and like does one of these flexes. And it was at that point where I was like, they don't think that the Eagles have anything else to show them. Because at that point in the game, I think they hold the Eagles to a field goal. It is clear to me that the Chiefs had better linebackers than the Eagles by a wide margin. And of course, the guy holding that together is Nick Bolton, the guy who was on the field the entire game. I don't know if he was was he on the field for the last hurrah? I guess I need to look up the snap count again. But essentially, he was on the field for the majority of the game. He played excellent. It's Nick Bolton on defense. On offense, I will tell you that it's Andrew Wiley. It's just, they didn't give up a sack, guys. Now, look, it's hard to sort of to parse out because they averaged, I believe, 6.4 yards a snap, 6.4 yards a snap against the defense that had gotten after the quarterback for much of the season. But Andrew Wiley didn't give up a sack, had one of the best pass rushers in the league, Hassan Reddick, never got near the quarterback in the second half. Just smothered him. Now, I've seen on Twitter Hassan Reddick say that the field conditions were his issue. Well, you got to find different cleats. He said he switched cleats. You got to find different cleats. I don't care what it is, but, like, you got a championship on the line. And when Andrew Wiley won, if you want to look back and watch it, and I know Brian Baldinger has these videos, he won by saying, I'm going to just lay on you. But just lay on you again, and again. And, of course, if you're so worried about pass protection, do you give something in the run game? And nope. They just moved him down the field with Isaiah Pacheco. I think Pacheco is also he would be like my number 2. So I would say Andrew Wiley, because you knew the left side was going to be protected. You knew when they were going to max protection that, yes, I know Orlando Brown's the left tackle, but they're going to ensure that at least Brandon Graham or whoever is on that edge is getting two blockers in front of him. So the way the Chiefs system works is to give Patrick the most comfort, we're going to give the slide obviously to the backside, which means that, hey, the right tackle, who used to be Mitchell Schwartz, now it's Andrew Wiley, they need to hold up in those one-on-one situations if the max protection is more towards the backside of the quarterback than the front side. So it was an impressive game. But the fact that Andrew Wiley, I believe, made himself a lot of money with that performance, and the fact that they didn't give up a sack, that Mahomes was excellent in the second half because he felt protected the entire time, despite obviously aggravating his right high ankle sprain late in the second half on a play that was not the offensive line's fault. It was him trying to make a play. So it's I would say Nick Bolton and Andrew Wiley, and that's one of the beauties of the Super Bowl. If those, B-level, C-level guys, they're not the top stars, they're not obviously on the marquee, but if they can make contributions that are significant, your team with the best quarterback in the league, with arguably the best coach in the league, that gives you such a wider margin for error, and obviously it led to them winning their second Super Bowl in 4 years.
Andrew Wiley getting paid this offseason would be one of the few things that I would absolutely love to see. As somebody you've been around him, his personality's loved to see that guy getting taken care of financially. And to answer your question earlier, there were 4 defensive players for the Chiefs that played 100% of the snaps, played 75 snaps on defense, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
You want to keep it around like 60 to 65. Yeah.
Yeah, the Chiefs had 55 offensive plays for the handful of 5 guys for the Eagles that played all 100% of their snaps at 55. But the 4 guys for the Chiefs is Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, and Juan Thornhill. Those are the guys that played every snap. And then Justin Reed missed 1 play. Willie Gay played 66 of the 75 snaps. And then everybody after that was 81% or below, guys like Chris Jones, Frank Clark, and company. So we're going to get...
Real quick, from a development standpoint, you can make the argument that Leo Chenal was a better linebacker on the field Sunday than anybody who had an LB next to their name on the Philadelphia Eagles. That is how good the Chiefs linebackers were, and that is how good the coaching staff has been as developing players who are obviously rookies. I didn't expect much from Leo Chenal towards the middle of the season. He was better than any linebacker on the field in an Eagles jersey. And again, he didn't start all season. He played a limited role, but man, he was very good in his limited role on Sunday. So I do want to give Leo Chenal a shout out alongside Willie Gay
and Brett Veach, the rookie class. Yeah. Just give credit to everybody. Yeah. We'll do that more. So we are going to get to the low-key moment that you will still be talking about in 15 years following this game after this quick break. Talking with Nate Taylor from The Athletic. Welcome back to KCSN Update. We're hanging out with Nate Taylor from The Athletic. I'm BJ Kissel. Appreciate you spending part of your day with us. All right, Nate, what's the one low-key moment, low-key play? And it's kind of hard now because I think so many people talk about moments we shouldn't forget so much that there's no chance we're going to forget them. So I'm going to ask you, it's going to be like, we've talked about that ad nauseum. But for you, what's one play that's not, the punt return, the longest punt return in NFL history, but what's a play from this game that you're going to remember in 15 years as being that, remember that play, that one got it done that you might not see on a highlight reel?
It's the last play of the third quarter. The Chiefs they have the ball. They're moving past midfield. They're obviously in position to get ready to score yet another touchdown. Obviously, they scored on every possession in the second half. But there was a decision that had to be made at the end of the third quarter. Hey, we just got yards. Hey, look at the clock. By the way, the operation, flawless in the second half between Matt Nagy, Bieniemy, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes getting the play to the rest of the guys, them lining up, them running the plays on time. The operation was flawless because if you look at the Eagles, they had issues late in the first half, and they had issues in the third quarter where they had to actually use a timeout, and they had to take a delay of game penalty to move them backwards, which actually helped the Chiefs, I believe, hold them to a field goal. So, hey, we don't have to run a play. The game clock is going to take us through the end of the third quarter. And the Chiefs say, no. Line up, run another play. And it's a just lead draw, hand off to Isaiah Pacheco, and they moved him. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment to me where I was like, oh, they feel like they have them. Yeah. It took 45 minutes, but they have them now. And we're going to take you on a ride. We don't have to run another play, but I believe Pacheco got 7 or 8 yards. And you could tell the Eagles are starting to feel it from an emotional and physical nature, and they pushed them back. And if you watch the broadcast, because I rewatched it yesterday, Andrew Wiley, now you can't see this on TV, from where my press box was, they ran a play, they get 7 or 8 yards. Now they know the quarter's over. Andrew Wiley, turns his head to the Chiefs sideline and does this. Keep it going. We got them. We have them at our, we have them basically at our leisure at this point. We can basically do whatever we want. And when the offensive linemen show that, that's because they know they're winning up front. Yeah. And of course, the game plan was sort of built on, and I said this last week, BJ. I said, hey man, it's a true 1 versus 2 matchup. And I knew it was going to motivate the Chiefs offensive line and the Chiefs defensive line, that they were the two in the 1 versus 2 matchup on both sides of the ball. And obviously Andrew Wiley sort of expressed that after the game. But it was clear that the offensive line was like, oh, y'all the number 1 pass rush? Y'all the number 1 defensive line? We just moved y'all 70 yards when we didn't even have to. So now the quarter's over, and I just want to keep running through your neck, basically. What is on the TV broadcast is Orlando Brown doing the same thing. So basically, Orlando Brown is the farthest offensive lineman on the play. Basically, moves somebody 6 yards. It's insane. And then he turns to the camera and does one of these, and the camera sort of comes up, and he's going to the Chiefs sideline, and he's just flexing and probably a guttural scream sound. And it's like when the left tackle and the right tackle are doing that before the fourth quarter starts, oh, I can see why they scored on every play or on every possession. I can see why they scored, 24 points in the second half. That's the moment I won't forget. It's Pacheco, this is what I said on Times Ours yesterday, but I was like, they told Isaiah Pacheco, there's no more tomorrows. There's no more tomorrows. This carry could be the last carry of the season. So why don't you run it like it's every carry? Every time you touch the ball, it's like it's the last time you're going to touch the ball for the season. So it all worked out together, but that's the play that jumps out to me. It's like it wasn't even before the fourth quarter began, which is when things obviously pick up. But that was the indication to me that this defensive line is not going to have an answer in the second half. And if you tell me that, how in the world are they supposed to stop them? Because the reason why James Bradbury holds Juju Smith-Schuster is because Juju Smith-Schuster got open the entire fourth quarter. And these cornerbacks have not been in a situation in a tight game all season where their pass rush wasn't getting home. So if you give a cornerback knows, man, I got to cover these guys for 3-4 seconds because we're just not getting home. If he runs a sophisticated double route or, obviously change a direction route like a whip route, I may have to hold him because I want to give up a touchdown because we're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, and the quarterback is in such rhythm because the offensive line is dominating the game. Not really made an impression on me in the third quarter.
Yeah, I I love the points that you're bringing up about running. I actually joked on social media during the game that Isaiah Pacheco was running where he was running so hard into the ground that I think he was just trying to drive his cleats into the ground so he wouldn't slip and fall.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to shove these things so far down into the ground that I am not going to slip on one of these painted logos, which was about a third of the field, it seemed like.
It was second and, oh my God, it was 2nd and 1. And he got 11 yards up the middle. Again, on a play they didn't have to run. We could just let the clock go to, obviously, to zeros to start the fourth quarter. Nope, let's just line up on 2nd and 1, go right up the middle for 11 yards. That's a play that jumps out to me just because I knew it. I just knew at that point, like, unless Mahomes, the only way the Chiefs can not score is if, like, either Mahomes makes a rare mistake or one of the receivers drops a ball. Something abnormal has to happen now. But the offensive line deserves just an immense amount of credit. And I think I kind of knew by the time we talked last week, BJ, that I knew it was going to motivate them because the Eagles deserved the praise they were receiving. I want to let Chiefs fans know that, like, the Eagles deserved to be number one in defensive line and offensive line. But at some point, the game's going to start, and you got to prove why you've earned that reputation, and the Chiefs took it away from them.
And you can't be considered the 85 Bears. Let's be honest, that's what it turned into at the end of this 2 weeks of talking about this team. Can't be considered the 85 Bears and not play an offense like the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect, but there were a lot of flowers being given as the way that defense was discussed. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the schedule, and it's like, it's not their fault that they're playing the schedule that's in front of them.
Yep.
But they hadn't played him yet. They hadn't played a guy like him. But let's move on to the next one, Nate. And of all the questions that I've asked you, I don't know if you guys talked about this on Times Ours. It's a great podcast he does with Seth Kaiser and Josh Briscoe. Make sure to check that out, everybody. But it might be one of the most difficult questions I've asked you during the season of all of this. It's a loaded one. I'm actually very curious your thoughts. Which Super Bowl win was more impressive? Super Bowl 54 against the Niners or Super Bowl 57 against the Eagles?
It's the one we just saw. And I'm not a prisoner of the moment, y'all. I think I tweeted this, so I'm sure you all have found it already. But I tweeted at halftime while Rihanna is putting out a great concert.
She turned things around for the Chiefs. Let's be honest. She came out in red and was like, you know what?
She gave them all the time, right? I'm gonna put out an amazing 18-minute set, and y'all gonna have plenty of time to get all the adjustments right and get all the personnel right, remotivate. And, like, the Super Bowl halftime, like, if you use it to your advantage, really does benefit you. And yes, she did wear red. I'm glad you put that out, EJ. Guys, she's pregnant, okay? She didn't have to do this. She did this for y'all, okay? She don't have to do this. She got all the money in the world. Them songs are hits, okay? Hits, baby. So she's pregnant. She's not Beyonce. Anyway, for people who are like, I didn't enjoy the concert. I'm sorry. Are you performing in front of millions of people while being pregnant? What the hell is wrong with y'all? Anyway, it's 57 because to the point of Jimmy Garoppolo, did you feel like he had a great Super Bowl? Because I feel like he didn't have a great Super Bowl.
No, he missed the one big throw he had to make.
Jalen Hurts was unbelievable in that game. Unbelievable. They finally put him in the situation that I was most interested in, which is, hey, Jalen, it's fourth quarter. Got to have it, dog. Got to have the drive. Third and I don't know what it is, but it's third and whatever, and you got to go get it. And then he got the 2-point conversion too. All on his own. He carried them for so many stretches of that game, making absolute dynamite throws where Justin Reed's like, man, I've been smothering tight ends all season. How the hell did he get through that? Like, how? L'Jarius Sneed gets caught looking inside because he believes, well, Jalen can make that throw. I don't know if he can make the one. Why? Oh, my God. Like, oh, my Lord, it's over my head. Like, it's just one of those things where he played so well. And I love that Patrick, after the game, was like, we cannot forget how good the other quarterback was in the game. I'm like, you put all the doubt to rest. And, I was worried about his shoulder injury. Like, could he get the ball downfield? Well, he gave his receivers chances, and those receivers rewarded him for the risk that he was willing to take. The Eagles, I think, are a better team than the 49ers were at certain spots. Quarterback, offensive line. Their running games were pretty comparable. Obviously, you add the running back dynamic to it. But yeah, it's 57 because the quarterback leaned his head on Rick Burkholder's shoulders. And I was like, I've never seen that. And I've been covering the guy for 5 years. Like, I think Patrick's pain tolerance level chart exquisitely well, guys. Like, I've talked to
there were a lot of tweets saying, let's go ahead and wrap this one up when they showed Mahomes the kind of pain that he was in. It was like, well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. It's like, you don't know this guy. Although I'm not going to lie, that was the first time I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing from a dude that puts up with the kind of things that he had been putting up with throughout his career. To show that kind of emotion, not great. Not a great feeling. We're sitting back and watching. And Nate, I'm curious your thoughts on this analogy that I just thought up of while you were talking, trying to compare Super Bowl 54 to Super Bowl 57, because I don't think it's necessarily fair because the feelings, at least from the fans on the outside, I think difficulty-wise, 100% correct. Nothing. The Eagles, they were a better team. It was a better comeback. The context of the season and the Tyreek trade and all the things we've talked about all year, more special. Yes. But I compare it kind of like to the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate. And that nothing's ever going to change what MJ did for the game in similar way that no one's going to take away the feeling of that first one when you won down in Miami. It was like, man, we've got it. That's the first one. Nothing's going to change that. Michael Jordan was first. He changed everything about marketing. His impact on the game was greater than LeBron James. But as far as who's the most physically gifted basketball player of all time, like to me, that's LeBron James. But that is not a tier system between him and MJ. And I think it's the same way with James. And that like nothing's going to change Miami for being the first one. But as far as like difficulty level of getting it done and the team that you were facing and all the context of the injuries and all of that, like nothing's going to be better than 57. Obviously, I'm biased towards 54 because I had a great view for that one. But as far as difficulty level and what they overcame to do it and the injuries with Mahomes and the ankle and all the crap with Cincinnati and this whole run is more special in that kind of way outside of just Miami because it was the first one, if that makes sense. It's fair.
The 1 in 19 is special because all those guys were doing it together for the first time. And that's the beauty that can't be replicated, right? Whether it's Mitchell Schwartz, whether it's Eric Fisher, obviously Patrick Mahomes, that they had put everything together for the quarterback to really put them over the top. And then, of course, part of that element is everybody's doing it for Andy. Right. That was the real beauty about 19 was that like, man, we want to be the team that gets Andy his first ring. We want to be those guys. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu had a humongous role. His impact was enormous that season. And obviously his production and play matched the moment as to why they signed him. And I need to remind people of this. Man, Tyrann Mathieu was asked to do things that Eric Berry couldn't do. And Eric Berry is a Chiefs legend. So it wasn't he was just filling in some shoes. He was filling in Eric Berry's role and trying to do it at a higher level. So Tyrann Mathieu always gets a ton of credit about 19. The difference this year is this is playing Madden on all Madden. Hey, let's just, you know what? Let's trade away one of the best players. From a Cal standpoint, if he wants to be if he wants to be the highest paid receiver, that is his prerogative. We need to get more youthful at different positions. Let's get 10, 11 rookies on the roster and let's roll. Obviously, let's bring in an entirely new receiving core, which will be the case midway through the season because unfortunately, McCole Hardman had his injury. So it is all new receivers when the postseason begins based on not having any postseason experience with the quarterback previously. Let's go into the Super Bowl with a 7th round running back. And let's go into the Super Bowl with 3 rookie cornerbacks.
It's the most yards by a rookie running back drafted after the first round in the Super Bowl in NFL history. Or excuse me, not in NFL, since 1988. Eric Galko put that out there. It's the first time a running back had 75 yards and a touchdown drafted after the first round since 1988, like 35 years. Running back had done what Pacheco did.
Is there a harder level than all Madden? What could we call it?
But you're asking somebody who plays on easy and gets beat. Hey, I'm the wrong person to ask about all that level. I'm terrible. My son beats me in all video games now, and I don't even have to like pretend to let him beat me.
Yeah,
It's just like crap. He's really beat. He played 2K last night. He's smoking me.
When them fingers get going for the young kids, man. Look, man, my thumb dexterity, my reaction time, slows down, kids.
Before we get to the last question, I got a good one for the last one, but you know what's crazy to think about? And I saw Bobby Stroop put this out, and he's like, not bad for a rebuilding year, greatest rebuilding year ever. Hey, what if the Chiefs really are rebuilding? What if this actually was the rebuilding year and they still went and won a damn Super Bowl? Because all these rookies are going to get better. These guys that spent their entire off seasons getting ready for the NFL draft. We talk about it every year. They spend all off season preparing to run 40s and answer questions to the media and how they're going to handle film study when they're at the combine and going to all the top 30 visits to these teams. They're not studying to get ready for a season. They're not preparing their bodies to get ready for a football season. And they still went out and played what our sports data guy said, 20 games, or it was the seventh most snaps played by the rookie class across the NFL was the Chiefs. The team that just won the Super Bowl had as much production as the top third of teams in the NFL, surrounded by teams that are really bad, that are trying to actually rebuild. And the Chiefs did it, air quote, rebuild, and won a Super Bowl at the same time. But Nate, we're going to take a quick break. But right after this, I want to ask you, have the Chiefs become the Patriots? All right, welcome back to KCSN Update. We're hanging out with Nate Taylor from The Athletic. Nate, final question for you on our 5 burning questions. And it's, have the Chiefs become the Patriots in that everyone who's not a Patriots fan hates the Patriots? Are we at that level already? Have we been at the top for so long now that people just want to knock us down? And I say us because, yes, we're a part of this. A lot of flack for saying we. I was like, you didn't do shit. You didn't do anything. It's like, I know, but I care. I'm emotionally invested into this. Yeah. Yes.
Sports are supposed to be fun. I try not to forget that at any point during the season. Because everybody does do work, but the reason why you want to do this is because it's fun. And obviously I want to thank everybody for spending time with us all season, and obviously watching on YouTube or obviously in the podcast sort of way. I want to say yes, because did the Patriots have a stretch where they went to 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year period? Yeah, they did. Was it fairly early in Tom Brady's career? Yes, they did. Now they won all 3. Unlike the Chiefs, obviously we've never had to see Tom Brady play with essentially 4 backup offensive linemen in the biggest game of the season. So, context and circumstances obviously are different, and then those things matter. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. But they're above everybody now. That's just where they are. And there was obviously questions that they were going to have to answer differently. And I think that's one of the really impressive things about the Patriots, was that they're going to have to answer things differently. Whether it's Lawyer Malloy not being a part of the team anymore, and then obviously them replacing with Rodney Harrison, and obviously them still remaining one of the best defensive teams in the league. It's unfortunate they never won with Randy Moss, but they always continue to shape shift and evolve. And I always felt like the Patriots were one of the best chameleons, not just from a scheme standpoint, and obviously preparing for a specific type of game for a specific type of opponent, and then obviously adjusting to that, to what was necessary to win the game. But yeah, they have the greatest quarterback in the world, man. They have the best coach going right now. They have a coaching staff that will obviously change to some degree, but the coaching staff sort of proved it this year that they're the best coaching staff. The Eagles had always had an answer, or the Eagles had always forced the issue on the opponent, regardless of whether that opponent was up to their standard or not. And then they faced the Chiefs, and the Chiefs outcoached them the entire second half. It's just, you can't get that wide open twice. You just can't. You cannot. So in a lot of ways, yeah, I tend to think that they are the Patriots. Obviously, as I wrote in The Athletic, BJ, they had 30 minutes in my opinion, and this is why I started the story this way. They had 30 minutes during the Rihanna concert to become a dynasty, and to obviously win their second championship in a 4-year period. I know that some people are saying, like, well, if you're saying that about the Chiefs, what about the Giants from 07 to 11? The Giants weren't in 4 straight NFC championship games. The Giants, give them credit, but like, Eli Manning has to be in the most adverse situations to play his best football.
The Giants are being discussed like the Chiefs are right now.
No.
Yeah. The part
and Tom Coughlin's a great coach, but he ain't Andy Reid. I mean, like everybody understands that, I hope.
The part that bothers me is and I know that 5 years, obviously, it's a long time. I'm probably going to come out wrong because I'm saying it this way. This happened long before the Chiefs won this Super Bowl. That Chiefs fans had been through so much as far as like the brutal playoff losses, the Lynn Elliott, the no punt game, the losing to the Steelers with like 6 field goals.
Yes. Yeah. Like, touchdown pass to himself.
Yes. The Indy game back in 2013. Like it. Yeah. So many brutal losses. We talked about, I've said it a couple times this week already, the most consecutive playoff losses by any franchise in NFL history. The Chiefs had a history of just being gutted. And we finally get good for a little bit. And I say for a little bit. And we can't stay just hey, everybody's happy. The Chiefs haven't had this for a while. Their fans have been gutted. It did not take long. People were like, yeah, you're not that team anymore. Move on. It's like the Red Sox and the Cubs. It's like you love to root for them when they're underdog. And once they won, it's like, yeah, we don't really like you. We don't like that storyline anymore. You don't get to play that card anymore. And as somebody that still feels those playoff losses, even though we're in the greatest stretch, it's just like, man, couldn't we have enjoyed it for at least another year or two before everybody just had us be that fun team that everybody wanted to hate?
Yeah, I mean, like they've reached a status that is really hard to accomplish. Before the Patriots, of course, it was the Denver Broncos that had won, or the last team that had won back-to-back Super Bowls. But they did it in basically a 3-year time period. Now, part of that is because obviously the quarterback had reached really the twilight of his career. And so they had a really good stretch from 96 to 97 to 98. But yeah, I mean, this is a dynasty. This is as close to a dynasty that is non-Patriot related as you've been since like the Dallas Cowboys of the 1990s. And one thing that I'll give credit to Nick Jacobs from the 4th and 1 podcast from Channel 41, he's done a really good job, and I need to do it myself. But like the Cowboys dynasty also was exactly when free agency began. So in the free agency era since 1993, which of course is when, hey, Joe Montana can pick, he has the ability to pick his own destination. He has agency over his own plane services. Obviously in 1993, they make the trade obviously for Joe Montana, but partly that's because free agency is starting to happen. And like, you can't, like the team just can't hold over the player's rights if the player wants to obviously play on the field. So obviously that's a part of history that I think you want to obviously keep in the forefront. Like in the modern free agency era, obviously with the rookie wage scale of the draft sort of being in that mid 2000s era, this is as close as you're going to get to the Patriots. Guys, they were in 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year period. He has never played a road playoff game. And y'all know who I'm talking about when I say he. He has never played a road playoff game ever. Okay? In a 6-year span, 5 years as a starter. It's just, if you need another year for it to be proven that it's a dynasty, well, I guess that will be something that the Chiefs can, again, sort of conjure up and use to their advantage from a motivational standpoint. But no, like, it's time to acknowledge that they've done something that is really, really extremely hard to do. And it took a revamping of the roster to sort of get them to that place, but they chose to do it proactively. And that's where I think the credit really goes to Brett Veach, to Andy Reid, obviously to Clark Hunt, to sort of see the vision from Andy Reid and Brett Veach and obviously believe with it, align with it, and obviously allow his football expertise to sort of take it through. But yeah, I mean, guys, I think QBR is 1 to 100. He was 99.4. 99.4. Because he threw an incompletion that was inconsequential because they ran the most junk, ridiculous, silly, trick play because they knew, well, if we don't score here, we'll literally score on the next snap. Okay? He had a 99.4 off 100 because he was that good in the second half. So, dynasties are built upon success and obviously exceptionalism. And that was the most exceptional half of football for a quarterback who didn't have to throw the ball downfield. Mahomes built his entire reputation on deep passes and worlds colliding highlights out of the pocket. He stayed in that pocket and he just knifed them and diced them all the way down the field, had the offensive line in sync, and all the skill position players smartly and aggressively playing at the right moments, at the right time. The coaching staff and the operation and the play calling and the scheming was immensely incredible.
Patrick Mahomes attempted one pass beyond 20 yards in the Super Bowl, and he was MVP. One pass beyond 20 yards down the field. And one thing we have not talked about yet this week, and it's Tuesday, so I feel bad for this. We have not talked. I just saw Bobby Stroop text out the picture. I've seen it, or tweet out the picture. I've seen a couple of people do that as well. Jerick McKinnon's decision to slide at the 1 yard line to kick the field goal and not give Philly a chance to get the ball back. Those are the little things. So it's smart decision, smart football. And that's why we're talking Dynasty. It's why you guys are writing a book at The Athletic called Kingdom Dynasty.
Kingdom's Dynasty. Yeah.
The Kingdom. We're already using the D word. So we appreciate everybody for hanging out for this episode of KCSN Update, talking Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl, dynasties, all that good stuff with The Athletic's Nate Taylor. Nate's going to continue to join us as things happen throughout the offseason. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody for hanging out. So, we'll have more content, KC Sports Network breaking this one down and starting to look forward to draft content, draft season. It's here. Combine in 3 weeks. Let's go. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.